Hello guys, this is Konstantin Zerdev for Ultimate Poker Coaching. I'm just gonna shoot a quick promo here, going over 3 hands I played this week from recent tournaments of mine, just to show you what a coaching session with me or some of my colleagues would look like. So here we go, first hand we start is in a €20 PKO on Winamax. We are raising with 6-7 suit. I'm just gonna let the whole hand run through before going into analyzing it. So here we raise, we get called and 3-bet, flooding the 3-bet, and the other player comes along. We get to this flop, the 3-better and the flatter check, and it's our turn. We put in a small bet, we get called 2 places. Turn POs the 4 of diamonds, there is a lead for half pot, a call, and we're gonna PO again. And queen of clubs on the river. First player checks, second player checks, and we go all in to see both of them falling. So now I'm gonna go inside and explain the whole hand from pre-flop to the flop and everything. So let's go here for pre-flop. So here the raise, this is a standard combo to open. The deeper the stack depth, the better these suited connectors become for a raise, because they need a lot of they realize their equity better when there are 5 cards to come. And the deeper the stack you have, the more often you're gonna see 5 cards on the board with holdings like this, because that's where they're best basically. Contrary aces, for example, realize their equity without even a flop. They're the best equity hand without a flop, while these connectors are the best equity hand when you see 5 cards. So yeah, this is standard raise. The 3-bet here was really small. It was only 840, like almost a min raise, so the call is standard. There is no reason for us to 4-bet this combo or anything. We have position on both players, and we have a very good price to see a flop. So we go to the flop here. When both players check, I immediately discount any sets, or maybe set of jacks only, but I discount any overpairs in this player's range. Also, this player would be continuing with his whole flooding range on the small blind, so he still has a light range, and this player is kind of capped. He doesn't have aces, kings, or queens anymore most of the time, and he might have jacks. That's the only hand that checks here and is towards the top 1% of the range on this board. So it's a normal hand to bet here with, because we don't have anything. We have 7 high. Basically, we lose to every single hand these players might have. It's really difficult for some of them to show up with 6 high here, so we have the not low hand, which is the bottom of our range as well, 7 high, so it's a mandatory bet with this hand. Also, we have a good backdoor equity. We can make a straight or a flush. So I bet third pot just to try and fold out hand like queen high or king high without a gut shot or without a backdoor. But we got caught in both places, and we got here to the turn. This is a really good turn for us, and we're facing a half pot lead and a call. So there are 2 options here. We can also raise this hand. We have enough equity. We have 9 outs for a flush and 3 for a straight, so it wouldn't be too bad to just put it in here with this hand. But we also can take the lower variance line and call behind, because this lead here consists of some good draws. Like he can have queen 10, he can have queen 9, suited combos as well. He can have the flush draws. He can also have a combo draw like us. He can have 9-10 of diamonds. That's also an option here for him. And as long as the big blind goes, he can have something like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, playing like this, even though it makes not much sense. So I'm not really going to go into raging the recreational player here who just 3-bet with a min raise pre-flop and check the flop. This is the range I'm most worried about at this point. This player still can have a set, but already on this turn it becomes better to raise his set. And we get to the river, the queen of clubs, where we brick our draw obviously, and both players check. At this point, I don't believe this player checks a queen after leading a turn. I don't believe he checks a straight after leading a turn. Also, I discount all sets from this player's range, because he's not gonna check a set on the river, because he's gonna risk losing too much value here. So basically they're both really capped, so I go for the pot size bet shove with the 7 high to bluff them off, and we get both folds. I'm gonna get to the second hand now. This is 4-handed. I think this is before the final table, or was the final table of €50 freeze out. So yeah, this was actually the 9-handed. This was the final table bubble. So yeah, we get the raise on the button here for small sizing. We just refreshed the hand because it lagged. This replayer is kind of bugged, and I don't want to shoot the video for a third time, so I'm gonna play the hand first and then explain what's going on. So we have a min raise here, like 2.1x, and we have a defend on the big blind with this hand, four-handed. It's good enough. We get to this flop where we check, villain c bets third pot, and we go for a check raise, almost 3x sizing. So, okay, let's go click replay again. The defend is standard, as I already said. We get 3.5 to 1 to defend here, and also button opening range should be really wide here. So queen 5 off is doing well versus button, but it's starting to do really bad against earlier positions. The earlier the opener is, the worse this hand is gonna do against his range. But button is like 50% opening range, and queen 5 off has enough equity to defend the big blind with, especially with the healthy stack and covering him. We are the ones who can put the ICM pressure here. So 3-bet is also an option with this hand. It's not necessary, but if this player is opening a lot and folding to a lot of 3-bets, this is where the stats come in play. We can also opt for a 3-bet, depending on which strategy is more exploitable. If the pre-flop strategy or his flop strategy is more exploitable, that's how we make the decision here. So I call. This player had high c-bet. That's one of the reasons I'm check-raising this combo. Second reason, I block flush draws. Have a diamond. Also, I block the good straight draws with the queen, and I block queen jack and queen 9, which are hands who can continue really easy. So this combo makes a really good natural check raise bluff. We don't have enough to call for a third pot bet, and also a player with high c-bet is gonna be c-betting most of his range here, and he's gonna be folding to a check raise a lot because he can't really defend really wide against the check raise with so much ICM involved in before the final table. So it becomes a really good combo to bluff because we don't have enough equity to call, but we have enough equity minding our backdoors and our blockers to just put in a raise here. And yeah, he bets third, we go to 3x, almost 3x, and we get the fold. And let's go to our last hand. This is final table of the Sunday Marathon on PokerStars. We're facing two really good wrecks here. Most of you should be familiar with both names, Zero Coup and Ace Ace. So we have 10 jack off on the button. I'm gonna play the hand first. We limp. Ace Ace folds a small blind, and we get a check by Zero Coup on the big blind. Flop the flush draw, 10. Get a check, we check back. 6 of hearts. No improvement for us, we check back again. And the river peels off another deuce. And we get led on for almost pot, 80%, and we call. Shows 3-7, and we win the hand with jack high. So the inside behind this hand. Here, at this point when you play two good wrecks, and it's a really ICM heavy spot, and you're the middle stack especially. When you're the big stack, you can just open your entire range. You don't need to develop a limping range. But in these scenarios, you want to have limping range starting from the hijack cutoff. Even from earlier positions, you want to develop a limping range with strong hands which you usually raise, but you don't want to raise in order not to get 3-bet. Because if we get 3-bet here, we have to pay a huge chunk of our stack. And if we lose the pot after that, we're going to be the shorty. And this has really big implications for our chances to get first or second place in this scenario. So I decided to limp this hand instead of raising. It's really good that the chip leader here folds. And yeah, the check is standard with 7-3 off. So why we check the flop? We don't accomplish much by betting, basically. We don't fold out many better hands. Like, all the flush draws continue, and we don't get value from much as well. Like, we can get one street from like 6-7 with one diamond, 6-8 with one diamond, hands like that, but there are gonna be also combos that we don't want to fold out. Like, we can take this street later, basically. We don't need to take it on the flop. These combos are gonna call the turn as well. If they hit the flush or anything, they're not gonna fold. And it's a one street game against them. Very hardly too. So we don't want to bet here on the flop. We want to take a later street. First of all for pot control, second of all because to some extent we conceal our hand strength because we have a pretty good hand. We have jack high, which is doing pretty well against the checking range from the big blind. We can strip off all the basically top 15-20% of his range here when he checks the big blind. So him having an ace is pretty unlikely. Him having hand like king 10, queen 10, king jack, queen jack is also pretty unlikely, especially when we're talking about a good rec who plays optimally. So check back is the best play here, in my opinion. The 6, again check. The 6 is a pretty good card for his range, and it's also a card where he's not gonna start leading if he hits a pair. He might lead some fraction of it, but he's not gonna lead all his pairs here. You can also still have a deuce or a 4, which are gonna check call. So I'm just gonna check back again here. Also, there might be some flushes, like not really likely because we block the 10 of diamonds. And if we don't accomplish much by betting, we don't really want to be betting the hand. And I'm just going to take a free river card here as well. Okay, at this point comes the deuce of hearts. Basically doesn't change anything, makes a pair of deuces a trips, but pair of deuces beats us anyways up to the river. So it doesn't change anything to our relative hand strength to his range. In other words, when he leads here, he's basically wrapping either a flush, which he checks twice, which makes some sense, or deuce X. Also, him being a good rec, minding that, he might also have a 6x, which he value bets to this sizing. But also it's pretty likely for him to be bluffing already at this point, because our range, which checks back twice, is pretty weak. So he's probably trying to exploit that. And if he were to go for a bigger sizing here, like an overbet, it's gonna become really tough for us to call with jack high. But since the sizing is 80% pot, I think that the jack high call makes a lot of sense, and I just thought for a good 30-40 seconds and decided to call, because he's gonna bluff a lot of hands still. Like those non-diamond hands that block a straight basically are gonna all bluff. All the 9 highs, all the 8 highs, all the 10 highs are gonna go for a bluff. All the jack highs, which are worse than mine, are gonna go for a bluff as well. He doesn't have a better jack high. He can also be value betting king high too. That's one problem I have with it. Depends how much he value bets king high. If he value bets king high to a decent amount of time, this hand becomes a fault. If he doesn't go for a value bet with the king high combos, this hand is a really easy bluff catcher in my opinion. So yeah, we call, and as you saw, we get shot 7-3 off. Thanks for watching. This is all from me for now. I might be making longer videos like this in the future, which are gonna be like reviews of a whole hand history of a whole tournament. But this is all for now. Good luck and see ya.